I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us today as we explore these profound ideas from A Course in Miracles.
Yes, welcome. Before we get into this, it's probably worth saying, if you're listening today and this feels a little disorienting, that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense.
We're sitting down to look at the theory that those initial lessons actually sprang from.
It was a very different pace.
Absolutely. There's really no pressure here to understand anything all at once. We're just taking some time to look at what's underneath the lessons we've already been working with. So today we wanted to just hit the pause button on the practical side of things. Our whole mission here is to pull back and really look at the framework that supports those very first lessons, specifically lessons 1 through 7.
And to do that, we really have to look at the theory, which is mostly laid out in chapter 1 of the text.
Yeah.
It's about seeing that connection, that thread between meaning, perception, and what the Course calls a miracle.
Because that connection is just so crucial. Those first 7 lessons are systematically designed to dismantle this one huge shared assumption we all have, the assumption that the world is delivering meaning to us.
So the central idea that those early lessons are really training us on is this principle that the mind is the active creator of meaning. It assigns significance to absolutely everything it sees. But this is the key. This meaning is entirely learned. It's not inherent in the object itself.
That is the big bang moment, isn't it?
It is.
Because in my day-to-day experience, the meaning of a tree or a rude email or even a relationship I've had for years feels completely fixed. It feels real.
Of course.
So to even begin to accept that the emotional charge I feel, that it's my production, not inherent in the thing itself, takes a complete overhaul.
It forces you to question sight. I mean, if meaning is learned, if it's conditioned by my past and then projected outward, then the world I think I'm just passively observing is actually the world I am actively interpreting.
And if that interpretation, if that meaning is flawed or based on old learning,
then the whole system needs a course correction.
Which brings us right to the text discussion of miracles. When most people hear that word miracle, they think of something happening outside the natural order of things.
Right. Parting the sea.
Curing a terminal illness.
Yeah.
Solving a huge financial crisis.
A dramatic correction of external form. But chapter 1 frames the miracles so differently. It's not about form at all. It's perceptual.
Yeah.
It functions as a correction of meaning. A shift that happens inside the mind's interpretation, not a rearrangement of traffic jams or bank accounts.
The miracle isn't the sudden change in the physical thing. The miracle is the sudden recognition that the meaning I had assigned to this thing, like this disaster proves I'm a failure, was just flawed.
And that you can choose a different interpretation.
That's where the power is.
It is. Miracles are about corrected perception. They happen at the level of thought, not form.
This really puts the mind in the driver's seat. The mind isn't just passively receiving meaning from the universe.
It's always projecting.
Always.
And crucially, it's always projecting the past. The meaning we see right now is pulled from this huge library of previous judgments and learned associations.
So we're basically looking at a memory.
If the mechanism of perception itself is faulty, because it's based on past learned errors, then before any real correction or healing can happen, we have to undo that perception.
If I just assume the meaning I see is accurate and fixed, then I've completely blocked any possibility of correction. My interpretation is cemented.
And that explains why those initial workbook lessons are so severe almost. They systematically strip assumed meaning away. And it's important to say this out loud, because the early lessons can feel unsettling on purpose. They're not trying to replace your understanding yet. They're creating space by loosening what the mind usually takes for granted. That unsteady feeling. It's part of how the process works. We're demonstrating to ourselves through just doing it over and over that what we believe things are is entirely learned. and
It's
therefore...
disposable. It can be changed.
Exactly. It's subject to change.
But that can lead you into a pretty common conceptual trap, I think. And Chapter 1 really helps with this. It's the difference between something being truly meaningless versus it just lacking the meaning we assign to it.
Oh, this is such an essential nuance. Because if you read those early lessons too quickly, you could easily think it's a call to nihilism, that the world is just valueless and chaotic.
That nothing matters. But that's a total misreading of the theory.
Right. The question isn't whether an object or a situation has some kind of inherent value in a vacuum. The issue is that the value we've assigned to it, the meaning that's rooted in our fear or our past judgments, is simply inaccurate.
It's a faulty projection.
And by seeing that our current meaning is flawed, we open the door for a different meaning to be received.
We aren't getting rid of meaning itself. We're just demonstrating that the meaning we currently cherish isn't fixed, and it's actually blocking a more helpful perception.
And that realization, that simple shift in interpretation, that is the miracle shift in thought, a change in how the mind sees, and it's completely detached from whether the external events change or not.
Which brings us back to the stuff we practice with, the pens, walls, bodies, situations, all these specific forms we use in the workbook.
Right.
But the theory is telling us those specific forms are training devices.
The mind, in its current state, seems to need something concrete to apply this very abstract principle to. But the external form is incidental.
It doesn't matter what it is.
It really doesn't matter if you're looking at a stapler or a sunrise or your biggest grievance.
Because the real issue is projection.
And this reinforces the universality that the theory requires. If the core error we're trying to correct is this fundamental idea of separation, that we made up our own meaning apart from a shared reality, then the correction has to apply equally everywhere.
I can't say, okay, my projected meaning for this chair is faulty, but my projected meaning for that difficult relationship is 100% accurate.
Right. If the error is in the function of the mind, then the error covers all of the mind's products.
So the breadth of those early lessons where you're told to apply the idea to everything you see
is just reinforcing the theoretical requirement. The principle of projection is universal, so the undoing of it has to be universal too.
So if we kind of step back now and look at it all, we can restate the central idea that the mind gives learned meaning to everything, but maybe not as a difficult conclusion we have to swallow.
But as a lens.
Yeah, as a conceptual lens. It's a framework for diagnosing our own experience.
It lets you look at any moment of conflict or confusion and ask, where did I assign meaning here? What learned belief am I projecting onto this situation right now?
And that directs the effort inward to the interpretation, which is where the miracle can actually happen.
And maybe most importantly, it preserves your autonomy. You are the one doing the learning and the undoing. This framework just clarifies where your work is actually directed.
It shifts the whole focus away from fixing the world
and toward recognizing the origin of the world you currently see.
So maybe the most useful thing about this first week isn't trying to apply the idea.
Or even to agree with it.
It's just getting familiar with the lens the course is starting with. This idea that meaning isn't inherent, that perception is active.
And that correction happens at the level of interpretation.
Exactly. We'll keep returning to this framework as we move through the text because everything else builds on it. So for now, it's enough to know what kind of shift the course is pointing toward, even if it hasn't fully landed yet. Well, thank you for digging into this scaffolding with us. We really appreciate you exploring these ideas.
It's always a pleasure to think them through together.